Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dad. Number 2. Happy birthday to you. Mwah. Happy birthday, Dad.
Thank you.
Happy 90th.
Yeah.
And say you gotta blow it out.
We'll get it. Get over there and blow it out. We'll get you. Let's get the bottle out of the way.
Blow it out. There we go.
1, 2, 3. Oscar Ferdinand Mater was born on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 1929. That would be my dad. Dad and I have been talking, planning, gathering information, recording memories, flipping through photo albums, listening and telling each other stories has been our favorite pastime for at least 30 years now. We've both been looking forward to the time when this project about our family would finally come to fruition. As we approach the year 2021, in the time of the pandemic that is COVID-19, and the renewed Black Lives Matter movement, it seemed only fitting that now would be the time to see this project through to its completion. What has always been most remarkable to me about us as African Americans is that we are not all composed of one single ethnicity. We all consist of more than one, if not several, ethnicities. And because of the unique history of slavery in this country, we are largely related to the white population of America, all immigrants themselves, originating from almost every country in Western Europe. I am no exception. In 2015, I took the African Ancestry DNA test along with my nephew Armand. We were very excited by the results and found out that we are from 4 ethnic groups in West Africa on my matrilineal side. The Fula people of Guinea-Bissau, the Mende and Temne people of Sierra Leone, and the Mandinka people of Senegal. These regions were all connected, and there was a lot of travel all along the Western African coast, back and forth, so that doesn't surprise me too much. And beyond that, Mali and Senegal were the same. Senegal I'm sure about because that came up in my African ancestry. And there you can see the countries again, Guinea-Bissau and Sierra Leone right underneath. I knew for sure that I was going to pursue this research and documentation further. I have also been inspired to complete this project by the writings of Saida Hartman, author of Lose Your Mother, A Journey Along the Atlantic Slave Route. She says about our history, I was determined to fill in the blank spaces of the historical record and to represent the lives of those deemed unworthy of remembering. But how does one write a story about an encounter with nothing? Meeting Gina Page of AfricanAncestry.com also played a huge role and provided a major step forward in pursuing this research.
Our mission, Michelle, is to transform the way we view ourselves as Black people and the way we view Africa. And that's so important because as Black people, we are the original victims of identity theft. And so we've lost everything that identifies who you are. We lost our names, our languages, our ability and freedom to honor our ancestors, and our families were torn apart. So mothers and fathers were torn apart, brothers and sisters, mothers and children. All of this disconnection that we live with and don't recognize the impact that it has had. We don't necessarily recognize the impact that it has had, but it's tremendous. That impact is tremendous. To be completely disconnected from a foundation. African Americans are the only group in this country that can't point to a country of origin. You mentioned, the diversity of the neighborhood you live in. Well, Mexican Americans know where they come from. Italian Americans know where they come from. Russian Americans know, everybody knows where they come from but us. And so this technology gives us the opportunity to answer that question of who am I by answering the question, where am I from?
The other question I want to pursue in this documentary is, what is the continued impact of slavery on African Americans today? So I asked two of my friends, who are also amazing colleagues, to offer their insights on this topic.
We all kind of know about the slave trade and what that meant. And for, the civil rights movement, the last 50, 60 years, I think people feel there's been lots of progress that's been made in some ways, and in some ways not. But I think understanding what causes the wage gap between African American men and white men and African American women and white women, what causes the differences in career trajectory by race and by gender, what causes Black credit scores to be lower than white credit scores, what causes Black home ownership to be less than white home ownership. And oh my goodness, the financial meltdown of 2007, 2008, 2009, there certainly was a path there that home ownership was the key to financial success, that owning a home was a right that everyone had, and people should have had opportunities that they didn't have historically.
The randomness and contingency of history nonetheless produces two classes, winners and losers. Like men at a gaming table, over the course of time, the gap between these groups will become bigger and bigger. Chance events engendered a racial global order so irretractable that it now appears fated.
I tell people, if you want to understand what happened to us post-slavery, my favorite game is Monopoly. And I said, imagine if you're playing Monopoly, every other player gets money at go, you get none. You still have to travel around the board. Unfortunately, you're going to land on utilities where you got to pay a fee, but you don't have no money. You're going to land on people's property, but you can't pay rent. And when you can't pay utilities and rent, according to the game, where do you go? Jail. And because you have no money to bail yourself out of jail, even in Monopoly, you have to wait for 3 turns while people continue to go around the board collecting go. So I tell folks, we started with nothing and we're expected to catch up.
We are definitely not totally African, nor totally American. And that is what I hope this documentary discovers. We as African Americans have had to establish an identity for ourselves that defies a refined definition because of its changing nature. This is my ancestral heritage. My father's family is from Louisiana with origins from Haiti and France. My mother's family is mostly Native American and African, being rooted in Georgia, with Cherokee blood surging throughout many generations leading up to me. It is this amazing combination of cultures and instincts that makes me realize how fortunate I am to be able to lay claim to such legacies of multiple warrior peoples, and how this makes us more American than African. Yet for those bound to a hostile land by shackles, owners, and the threat of death, an imagined place might be better than no home at all. An imagined place might afford you a vision of freedom. An imagined place might provide an alternative to your defeat. An imagined place might save your life. I am extremely proud of the confluence of my heritage and am committed to being an integral part of bringing these stories to a larger audience. I am determined to make this goal a reality.